People are already arriving, and we are here already 68 participants. I look at you and I see you, almost everybody's here. So what I would kindly ask you now is for everybody to turn on their video. Almost everybody is with their video on. I'm going to, by looking at this, we see if everybody's here. So if you look at the chat, I've just posted here a link. This is a link for a website that we'll use for a very small energizer. This energizer is about mute language and sign language. So you see here the website for sign language in many different languages, but it does not have Flemish language. So I'm going also to pass on the chat a link for sign language of Flemish. So what I would like to ask you kindly to do is to go to this website, Spread the Sign, choose the language of your own country, and look for the word soil. You have to write it in your own language. If it doesn't exist, choose English, okay? So what I'm going to ask is for you to learn that sign, soil, and then we come back here in 30 seconds and everybody does the sign of soil. Is that okay? This is a checking back exercise as everybody's coming back from lunch and getting some energy. So thank you very much for participating. I'm now also going to do the same exercise, going to the website, learning my sign. Learn it 2 or 3 times, and then come back to the Zoom, and we all do it. Okay? Are you ready? So let's do it. The word soil. 1, 2, 3. Do it again. Okay, it's interesting. Let's do it now, the word life. So go to the same website and look for the word life, or vida in Portuguese, for example. So use your own. You may have different meanings, so you have to choose. And we come back in 30 seconds. Try it out. We come back in 30 seconds to do it. Okay, are you ready? Is everybody ready? So let's do it. Okay, let's do live. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much for participating in this crazy exercise. This is the way to create informal. We have to be relaxed, so we have nice and honest conversations. So thank you all very much for being here on time after lunch. Now the program from the afternoon, you already know. We are going to discuss the research and innovation needs in order to achieve the objectives of this ambitious mission, of this timely mission, of this hopeful mission, of this great mission, and other words that you've mentioned today in the morning. So how we're going to do this, basically, is we're going to start with a presentation by Alfred Grand. Alfred Grand is a farmer, but he's also part of the soil mission, of the mission Caring for Soil, Caring for Life. He's one of the 15 people that we've heard is working to produce this report that we have with us today. So he's the mission representative, and he's going to present us the research and innovation needs. Alfred is also a farmer, and he has a farm doing biohumus, so it's called Vermigrand, and this, as you know, is one of the things many people talk about, but only few farmers do. So I personally think that this is the way forward. not only for farmers to do it by themselves, but also for other farmers that want to use organic fertilizer to have the possibility to buy this kind of product. So we're going now to watch a very short introduction of the movie of Alfred Grant, and then we're going to have the opportunity to watch it afterwards during breaks or the lunch break. Okay? Please, Ina.
Hello. The next session will give you some insights on the building block of research and innovation of the mission Soil Health and Food. I will therefore share my screen to show you my presentation. So, Horizon Europe proposed mission, caring for soil is caring for life. We will talk now about research and innovation needs. My name is Alfred Grant. I'm an organic farmer and entrepreneur. I'm a member of the Mission Board for Soil Health and Food, and I'm also an EIP-AGRI ambassador that I'm really proud about. So there are different building blocks at the mission, as already explained by my colleague. And so we are now focusing on the building block number one, cross-scale, inter and transdisciplinary research and innovation program. So it's all about research and innovation now. Regarding research, a lot has already been done, but knowledge exists within individual disciplines only, and there is hardly any integrated knowledge and any integrated research has been done. And that is what we want to change with our proposal for the mission Soil Health and Food. So we are really advocating for a new approach regarding research and innovation. We want to see, on one side, systemic approach. So we want to see different stakeholders, and we want to see that soil is also seen not only as a resource itself, but also in the context of land, air, water, and other things. We want to see interdisciplinarity in the research, so different sectors, different research sectors working together on soil. This is really important, but also we want to see transdisciplinarity, what means that we want to see other stakeholders like farmers, landowners, foresters, but also citizens being involved in the research and innovation activities. There should be more contextualization. So that means there is not one solution that fits all, one size fits all, but you always have to think about soil is different in different landscapes, in different areas within Europe, in the north and the south, in the context of different climate situation, for example. And what we also like to propose at the mission for research and innovation is societal support. So there is a huge need to bring in the societal support also. And at the end, there is cross-scale integration that we are advocating with our new approach. All research and innovation activities are strongly committed to living labs and lighthouses. So there are key structures which identify the research and innovation gaps, which develop system approaches and integrated disciplines in cooperation with practitioners. So it's important to work together with an approach coming from practice to find solutions that are ready to be used by other practitioners and communicated to citizens. So there is a research and demonstration activity by the living labs and lighthouses. The majority of projects should use these structures. Living labs and lighthouses will go more in details on that topic on the tomorrow session. But living labs and lighthouses are not the only approach for research and innovation, because then you have some global issues or landscape issues where you cannot go on a specific lighthouse or living lab with that approach. So what about the dimensions? We want to have 2 dimensions. So there is soil health itself, and then there is also the drivers for soil health. So if we talk about soil health research, which is focused on soil health, what is a healthy soil, for example, and which indicators make sense in each context. So this would be, for example, directly the dimension of soil health. But there is also another dimension, which are the drivers that impact soil health. So for example, management, which management, the research which addresses the drivers are soil management, and that also requires social scientists. So how do land managers, how do farmers, foresters behave, and how can we change these behaviors within our research dimension in drivers? We also have 4 priorities for research and innovation. Number 1 priority is the integration and uptake of current knowledge. So as I already said, there is a lot of research has already been done. And using data platforms that are already installed, link data between already conducted research and already received research results, but also identify mechanisms that constrain implementation. So why are these results not put into practice, and why are they not used for soil health topics? Promotion of implementation through lighthouses. So lighthouses are places where demonstration for landowners, for farmers take place, and improvement of extension and advisory service. So that's also important to get a better level of extension service and advisory service, especially of independent extension and advisory services. Priority number 2, accelerating innovation in technologies and practices. So these are, for example, living labs will play a big part in that. Living labs are farms, for example, that where co-creation takes place, co-creation between different stakeholders like farmers and researchers. But also it's important when we want to accelerate innovation to have new design of incentives, like on the market financial incentives, for example, through the GAP regulations and policy tools. Then there is a need for innovation in technological projects, for example, but also to design new forms of collective actions at landscape scale. Priority number 3, towards global resilience through circular economy and adaptation of food and biomass systems. So, for example, this would mean we want to see a development of food printing tools where you can measure how different methods affect soil health on a global scale, for example, or on a larger dimension. Development of international research cooperations, co-creation of new market mechanisms, measuring the influence of agricultural practices on a large scale, promotion of shorter value chains and circular economy, the development of supportive policies and incentives, communication creation, engagement mechanisms, co-design of models towards more sustainable food production and consumption, and waste production or more waste reduction. The 4th priority is next generation monitoring and surveillance programs. So the creation of a pan-European approach for setting standards for soil health, the improvement of national soil health monitoring, but also the provision of data into open data platforms and modeling of platforms. So this is the next generation monitoring and surveillance programs. So what are your thoughts on the research and innovation needs for the mission Soil Health and Food? I'm very much looking forward to get your comments and see what you think about what should be done and regard to research and innovation at the mission soil. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Alfred, for starting your presentation. It was very to the point of research and innovation. Now it's time to go again to a similar session like in the morning of questions and answers. So our coordinating expert, Pandi, will be here to place the questions that people are writing on the chat. So I invite you, Pandi. Do you want to start?
Yes, of course. Yes, thank you very much. First of all, it's very good that we hear about research by a farmer and not by the researcher. So that makes a very sense that how research could be really implemented and what is the point of view of someone who is really doing with farming every day. Alfred, is a question that asks about the living labs. Will they be oriented, problem-oriented, so we can allow farmers to overcome obstacles for more healthy soil?
Yes, the living labs and lighthouses still have to be defined in all details, but as far as we have proposed it in our proposal to the Commission, we see the living labs more research orientated and the lighthouses more demonstration orientated. We will have another session on living labs and lighthouses tomorrow in the morning. But as far as we see this, we want to see an impact from practice. So really problems that come from practice that pop up in a practical farm or in a practical forest or even in an area that should be approached together with scientists.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you, Alfred. And again, because apparently the living labs and the lighthouses attract a lot of attention for their approach and for the way that are being implemented. So there is a question it's asking about the territorial implementation of both living labs and lighthouses, how to involve in it, for example, watershed issues and working in the harmony with the local farmers and the local people. Can you also maybe elaborate a little bit also from your own experience, as you are both a living lab and a lighthouse, and how the farmers in the nearby area where you are look at what you are doing?
Yeah, the idea is to connect the surrounding living labs and lighthouses in groups to 10, 15, and to cooperate and work together also on issues or on challenges that are not plot or farm based, but maybe are landscape based. But sure, you cannot reach all problems, or you cannot target all problems that all issues, all challenges, like challenges that come on a global scale, for example, that we are still also thinking about. For example, what does the European society have to do with soil in Brazil, for example, where we get some of the soybean food. So this could not be approached in a European lighthouse or living lab. So these problems have to be faced in other ways.
Thank you. Well, I like also to re-emphasize again that tomorrow is going to be also another presentation and showing also the results of a project that is ongoing and is dealing exactly with living labs and lighthouses. So other people are asking also how to incorporate social sciences and social research into the soil-related issues.
Yeah, this is something that we see with the research needs, that we want to see transdisciplinarity. So this is really important. On one side, interdisciplinarity, so that all scientists work together, even if there are specialities on different topics, but also transdisciplinarity, to work from practice and research, but also to involve the society, to involve citizens or NGOs or other stakeholders in approaching these problems, because the soil is not should not no longer be a topic of farmers and scientists only, but it should be, and that's a big part of the mission, to involve a citizen, to have citizen engagement and citizen science projects, for example, also, but also social scientists, for example, to be aware of why research results are not implemented in practice, for example. So there we need other sectors of science to work together with us to find solutions, sustainable and systemic solutions.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, people are interested to know that sometimes we do have quite a lot of scientifically collected knowledge, but unfortunately, not all of that is put into practice. So between science on one side and let's say the farmers on the other side, someone mentioned here, is it needed for someone in the middle to accelerate this process of research result implementation? So from your own perspective, or maybe from other farmers' perspective, do you see that there is this gap between what research has already found out and how much of that is being implemented?
Yeah, I think there's a huge gap, and that's also what we see as a mission board. We see a need for research and innovation on certain points, but we also see that there was a lot of research done, and a lot of research results already show us where the solutions would be. For example, with erosion, there's so much information about erosion, and then the implementation in practice is quite poor. So research and innovation is a big topic, but implementation is also a big topic. And the third one is then to talk about citizen engagement.
Yes. Okay. So again, the issue that come out with the discussion that are coming into the chat deal, of course, with scientific research and how that has been implemented. You mentioned already citizen engagement, and I can also re-emphasize that the results of the questionnaire that we distributed put it integration and uptake of current already known research as one of the main priorities. So from there, we do need also to go into the more implementation of the of those results.
Exactly.
Yes, please, Jelka.
We have that in priority one, integration and uptake of current knowledge. So that's an important thing under the point D. Identify the social and human mechanisms that in each socio-economic, political, and cultural context constrains the uptake of already existing knowledge by producer and land managers. Example giving producers past dependency, key processes to unlock, supporting mechanisms, key actors to mobilize and invest in, potential for collective actions, opportunities for efficient spread of innovation. So if you want to read that in detail, the research and innovation part of our proposal starts at page number 19. And the priority one in detail you can find at page number 21 or 22, yeah, in this area.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, there are also comments that looking at operational groups. I mean, EIP-AGRI has organized a number of operational groups, and all these results are available at the website, so people are free to go and look at that. And on the same way, there has been so many Horizon projects. By the way, I can mention that there are also new calls coming out now from the EJP Soil Initiative that will deep in furthermore into additional research needs that maybe need to be looked at that. So I see another question, taking serious the expertise of farmers or the local knowledge is certainly important to avoid fatigue from their side. So traditional knowledge as well mixed with advanced research results would be also one profitable way to encourage farmers to
And
advance in that. So
if I can complement, Pendy, one of the things that
please.
people are asking here is that there is the risk that everybody starts teaching farmers how to farm. So I think this is a resistance that can exist. On one hand, that the farmers don't want everybody to tell them what to do. They already know, like the traditional knowledge, etc. On the other hand, there needs to be some innovation. Otherwise, things stay as they are. So how do you see, Alfred, this tension of needing to innovate, but at the same time respecting the knowledge from farmers and their experience on the ground?
I think it's a perfect combination because farmers are very much solution driven. So they need a quick solution. If a machine breaks, they repair it and start working again. So if I, for example, I'm working on an arable farm, I'm not so much interested why the weed is there. I have to get rid of it to make my cash crop a success. On the other side, the approach from scientists is they want to understand the problem. They want to monitor it. They want to gather data about the problem, and then they try to get rid of it. And so if we combine these two approaches, which both are good, then we will get into more in maybe faster solutions and more sustainable solutions. So the more different perspectives we bring in, and there comes in EIP-AGRI with the operational group, with the multi-stakeholder approach, which I really love, and also coming from Horizon 2020. So this is, I think, the most important, or one of the most important topics to have that multi-stakeholder approach. And as long as I, as a farmer, just think I have a solution, but then maybe it is not the right solution, or I'm just blindfolded about my idea. And if I get researchers in, and then they can evaluate my ideas and my innovation and can say, okay, maybe it's a really good innovation, and we can even expand it and develop it further. And then we can demonstrate it to other farmers, and we can show if it works on other farms or in other regions also. So I think it's really, really important to have that multi-stakeholder approach and to combine different perspectives. And I don't think that scientists will overrule the farmers and say, okay, you have to do it that way or this way. And no, because farmers are now involved in a big part and have a good impact on the questions that are asked and on the problems which have to be solved.
Okay. Well, there is
Final question, Pendy, if that's okay. Yeah, and then we go on to the
last one.
Yeah.
Well, I think we received also a lot of comments on the previous session that how to satisfy both, let's say, going towards more organic farming, or sustainable management practices, but what to do with pesticides and fungicides and herbicides that sometimes they might be also necessary. So is that any way that we can find a compromise between these two? Alfred, what is your perspective on this?
Yeah, sure.
Rather,
I think it's
issue.
important to stay side by side, and we don't have to convince anyone to change to organic farming. And organic farming also still has some problems, and we still have to develop organic further. I'm an organic farmer, and I'm happy with it. But I fully understand other farmers who say, no, I don't want to go this way. I want to develop sustainable ways in the conventional direction, because they don't see the markets, or they just don't want to do it. But there is no reason to fight one another, not really. And as a mission board member, even if I am an organic farmer, I do not only talk about organic farming, because I have a lot of colleagues who are conventional, and I know colleagues who are conventional but still working working on soil health issues really hard. And so I think there are different ways to go forward. But I am an organic farmer and I like organic farming, I have to say.
No, good for you, Manfred. We're happy that you are successful and you feel good about that. Actually, someone is saying, are you an organic farmer? And you already clarified that. And do you practice till or how do you plow?
We don't plow since more than 25 years. We are conducting reduced tillage. So our standard tillage depth is 3 to 4 centimeter. And we only once go in our rotation, which lasts about eight years. We go only once a little bit deeper, which is 10 to 12 centimeter with a disc. And we even do trials in organic no-till. So with the roller crimper method from Jeff Moyer, a friend of mine from Roder Institute in Pennsylvania. So we try and we see the issues that we see the issues that we have in organic, and we try to develop further, like every farmer should do.
Okay.
I can just if you allow me just one small final comment, because it is very important to mention that Alfred in his farm is strongly collaborating with, I think, 4 or 5 research projects ongoing right now that they do conduct research in his farm. They send master and PhD students, same as I've seen in Portugal with the other farmer that I mentioned in the morning. So this mixture between researchers and farmers is also somehow happening on the ground. So we are talking real life stories and not just ideas. And that is something that it should be emphasized. Andres, please, Andres. Oh.
Thank you very much, Alfred. There's one more question, but you can answer it tomorrow or during the chat if you want. How you can write it on the chat. How do you deal with weeds? Okay, so now it's time for us to move on, as we're going to continue our discussions in breakout groups. Before we go into breakout groups, I would just like to sense from the people in the room, what is the average quality of soil in the region where you live? Okay, so very quickly with your video on, if everybody can turn your video on, you can just say if your soil is really deep, rich in organic matter, very fertile, you can raise your hands really high. If your soil is more or less average, you can do like this. And if the soil is really poor, really shallow, really rocky, really unfertile, you can put your hands in your head like you want to scream. Okay, so in average in your region, how is the soil in your region? Okay, show me, please. Okay, I'm going to look around just to check the other people. Okay, thank you very much. So you see, the situation is not totally fine. So we really need to continue our discussion and to see how the research and innovation can actually help us achieve the objectives of the SAL mission. So thank you very much for collaborating. So maybe now we can look at the slide that shows us how we're going to discuss the breakout session number 2. So thank you, Ina. In front of you, you have this slide. It basically says that we have 1 hour and 10 minutes to discuss. We were going to have 10 groups of 10 participants, but we're going to have a little bit less groups. But still, the point is that we're going to discuss the 4 pillars that are described in detail inside the mission in this chapter of research and innovation needs. And our objective for today, as in always throughout these 2 days of workshop, is on one hand to give some general feedback to the mission representatives, to the mission group. So saying if we agree, if we like, there's some specific comments. But most of all, what is really relevant is to give more detail to the mission. So the mission now is going to be implemented. And so to implement it, it needs detail, more detail on what are the research needs and the innovation needs in these specific pillars. And also how can we implement, how can we achieve these objectives, okay? So all these contributions that you can give will be very helpful for the next years for designing fundings of research and innovation, etc. So how we're going to do this is that you're going to have one facilitator in each of the rooms, and the facilitator is going to present to you the research needs and priority and the innovation needs that are identified in the mission. So you can look at them again and basically answer the first question, which is, are these needs and priorities adequate, relevant? So you can just say yes, or you can actually debate a little bit if there's one or two that you don't really agree or you think should be framed in a different way. So this is something that we can provide as a feedback to the mission. And then the next relevant question is, what are the other needs that exist on research and innovation? So here you can discuss on two levels. As I said, one is the detail inside the needs that are already there, and the other one is completely new needs that are not pre-identified. So you will have a table. First you discuss, the facilitator will take notes or help you taking notes or ask you to help take notes in a shared Google Doc. And then you'll be asked, after you basically complete or give more information, more needs and more details on this research and innovation needs, you can vote. So each of you has 3 votes, and you can basically put 3 crosses in the Google Doc yourself. You follow the link, and you can vote which ones are most important to you. So by doing this, in the end, we will have a small prioritization of what are the most relevant or more priority research and innovation needs for the participants in the room, of course. And this will be, I think, interesting for everybody to see, but it will also help you in discussing the next point, which is how to achieve these needs, how to meet these priorities. How can we help the mission in giving them ideas to go into detail, to frame the next research and innovation projects, fundings, etc. Okay, so you have 10 minutes. No, you don't have 10 minutes. You have 1 hour and 10 minutes for this discussion, and it starts now. So from my side, that's it. I wish you a great discussion, great meeting. Be fertile, be informal, be creative, be free, be relevant, and have a nice time. Zeus is now creating the, enjoy the mission, enjoy the breakout session. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the session on research needs and innovation. I hope you had a great time and a great discussion. I'm very jealous that I was not there. We have less people now, so maybe it was some people needed a break. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have a 10-minute break, and then we come back for very important but very short session on what are we going to take from this. Okay, so relax. It's your next 10 minutes to do whatever you need, and come back fresh for at 4 o'clock sharp. Okay, thank you very much. And so as people are coming back, I invite you to turn on your microphone. You can talk a little bit, say hello to people directly in the room.
Hello.
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 Hello, how are you?
Hi.
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 Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Again.
Olá, Maria Centeno, como está?
Hi there.
Hello.
Estão aqui vários portugueses. Boa tarde a todos.
Boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
Ah,
Boa tarde.
Boa tarde.
from yeah, Portugal.
Yeah, a fake Portuguese.
Yeah, there was a Brazilian. Okay, so I hope everybody's back. so we are now, what we're going to do is we're going to listen to the highlights of what happened in the previous session. So I would like to ask everybody to turn on your video, just for me to have another feeling of what happened. If you can all turn on your video, and then we can see exactly if you're still here or if you are doing something else. Okay, please, I'll ask you if the discussion that you had in this breakout room, in this interactive session, was really relevant and interesting, you raise your arms. If it was really very bad and you have preferred to stay home sleeping or doing something else, put your arms down, and in the middle, if it was more or less, okay? So show us how interesting it was, from super interesting, this was the best thing I could have done today, and very down, like not interesting at all. So, okay, so it was very interesting. Okay, very nice to know. Thank you very much for responding. So now what we would like to do is to give 4 minutes to each group. We have 6 groups, so each group could present basically what you discussed. Okay, so only 4 minutes, and that's it. If you want, you can share the screen, as the facilitator in your room has that possibility. So I could start by asking one of you, but since I don't remember now which one is in which room, I ask the facilitators of Pillar 1, maybe not, yeah, maybe Katrien or Margarida or Wilhelmine. Who is the first group that wants to speak?
Well, in our group, we had someone who was willing to present, and it's Paulina. So
Okay,
I don't,
Paulina.
Paulina, are you around?
Yes, hello everyone. We had very good discussions, and we were talking about P1, integration and uptake of current knowledge. And what we found was most important is that we should transform all the knowledge that we have to a usable and accessible knowledge, so it will be accessible to the farmers and researchers and citizens. Also, we should use the data that we have from the different Horizon projects and long-term soil research that has been funded by the European government. So there's a lot of data that is available that we should use. Also, what was really important is that there's a lack of monitoring of soils and soil health. So we should monitor soils. We should start at a base level, start to know more about the soils, and then monitor the change, see what is happening. Is the soil health getting better? So this is really important that we have monitored this in different areas and different locations. And also that the farmers should be rewarded for all the work they do, telling everyone how much this work farmers do is matters in carbon sequestration. So we should value that.
Okay, thank you very much, Paulina. Wilhelmine, do you want to share the screen and show us the voting, or is not so interesting?
Oh, I could do, but I had some trouble with the sharing of the screen. So I'm,
okay.
What so I can say is that the promotion of the lighthouses had many votes. And what also had many votes was an additional point we had, or what Paulina just mentioned, on the need for baseline information and for easy to use monitoring systems. So these were the two that had the highest numbers of votes. Also linking the data and providing sort of using data from existing projects, linking long-term field experiments. This also had quite a number of votes.
Okay.
So maybe it's easier if I do it like this rather than sharing the screen.
It's totally enough. Thank you very much, Wilhelmine and Pauline, for sharing what your group did. Thank you for your group. Thank you for all the other groups. So we had 6 groups, so 2 groups in Pillar 1. So is the other group that discussed Pillar 1 also willing to share some of your highlights?
Yes, I can do that for the group. So most of the members in the group said that all priorities were important, but there was a feeling that too much attention is given to data, whilst the focus should be on better use of that data and how to transform that data into information that is understandable for farmers. Then while most of the votes went to the improvement of extension and advisory services with 8 votes, and on the second place, the creation and promotion of lighthouses with 6 votes. And concerning the improvement of extension and advisory services, there were some ideas to make this happen. One of the ideas was to make better use of operational groups. The other one was an idea to combine the voluntary measures with advice and giving vouchers to farmers. And another one was to create a European online advisory service. So that were the ideas that were discussed, and then time was up.
Okay, thank you very much for you and all your group. So I want to remember everybody that after this sharing, we will have a comment again from Alfred Grant as mission representative to what we discussed here, and Pandis Druli as well. So let's hear from Pillar 2, Accelerating Innovation in Technologies and Practices. So I don't know, Remco, Kevin, Annika, or someone from your group.
We found a volunteer, so Marie Aman, can you take the floor?
Yes. Do you hear me properly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I try to summarize. So our group identified the priorities living labs as far most important point. So the living labs in terms of the mission pinpointed are definitely relevant and important, and it's also important to translate the information from the project into tools. Some areas of research and innovation, what was missing was identified by our side the linkage to the food, and so finally also to the consumer is definitely missing, and also there's a big gap in technology uptake. We also agreed on that more solutions and around the soil compaction, particularly in wet areas, and also more information on carbon sequestration is necessary. And the area, the topic of organic farming was also not captured, or could have been captured a bit better. As well, the discussion about what are we doing to replace glyphosates, what is happening there. So yeah, as I said, so the first place from our side was the living labs with respect to high priorities. The second place was actually design and validate new forms of collective actions to improve integrated soil, water, and waste management. And as third point, we defined the analysis, new design, and monitoring of incentives. And the last position had the technical projects, which develop and make operational new and existing proximal and remote sensing technologies, agriculture machinery, and artificial intelligence. And lastly, our points where we thought with respect to the living labs, these are points to tackle to really achieve the objectives, is that we wanted to or that it's very, of course, relevant to know the landscape and the soil and the location of the future or of the potential living lab. That it's quite relevant to do consumer education and practices on the farm, that that research and farmers should teach the consumers, not the other way around. And it's relevant to include big companies as well, for example, Syngenta, machinery companies, supermarkets, particularly supermarkets, because yeah, as I highlighted at the beginning, we were actually missing the linkage to food and like finally to the consumer itself. And yeah, as a summary, we thought that farmers ideally, and in the best case, our farmers like to learn from farmers. So the living labs are the perfect channel basically for that. And we would find it as a perfect solution if we also reach finally the end consumer through the perspective of food. Yes.
Thank you very much, Marie. It's been a very detailed summary. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. It's very
Sorry,
interesting
more than more than 2 minutes.
It's okay. I think today we are going to, we actually designed this session to finish a little bit before the schedule of 4:45. So in principle, we're going to finish a little bit before, so we are relaxed. So thank you also for your group for this work. It's very interesting to see that the discussions are very concrete and relevant. And I would like to ask then the second group on this pillar 2 on accelerating innovation.
Yes, Andre, thank you. We also found a volunteer to report for our group. Donald will take the floor. So up to you, Donald. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So we agreed, first of all, that yes, the living labs was much important aspect, and Alfred, who had given the presentation, was pleased that it was bringing a lot of questions even today, and for the last while, there's a lot of interest in both the living labs and the lighthouse aspects, and I think he's going to present more on that tomorrow. One of the members noted that it was still quite an abstract concept and that maybe needs to be made a little bit more concrete towards farmers, so that hopefully will come. Then we spoke about measurement, the need for measurement of metrics and more transparencies. If you can't measure, you can't manage. So we feel that's an area that possibly needs to be given more emphasis so that we can measure our journey and have cost-effective metrics. Then we spoke a little about, we moved on then in terms of the technologies. A lot of the technologies are being used, but one area that we felt was lacking, and I think one of the other groups has identified this as well, is a lack of AI for data interrogation, if you like, and for being able to use AI for decision support systems and, for example, drone monitoring. Off-the-shelf integrated platform solutions. So a lot of data is being collected, but we must be able to use it more effectively in terms of being able to extract out the important aspects. We felt it was maybe too much manual handling of data. So that's obviously an area that needs work. Then we also spoke about, again, maybe still on the measurement side, one specific area that we spoke about was measurement of carbon stocks at different soil levels and the difficulty involved in that in terms of being able to inventory report carbon stocks. There was two different aspects. One was the detailed monitoring, but then there was also a need for more practical, quick and dirty tests for farmers and advisors. And some of these tests of carbon can take a long duration in order to be able to do them. Somebody mentioned about, farmers often don't know the carbon content of their manure, and that there's a big need to improve different aspects relating to precision application. For example, variable rate slurry spreaders and that type of thing. In terms of the actual priorities and the voting, I think the two areas that came up were living labs, and again, this area of a framework for measuring and metrics, quick and dirty testing again. Then in terms of the final aspect and how we can do this, it was mentioned that the framework obviously for the living labs and the incentives and the infrastructure and the challenges to be able to recognize that a need for different skills. Farmers, for example, have skill sets, scientists have different skill sets, so to recognise that. We were given an example of one farm in Ireland. John will speak more about that maybe tomorrow, I think, in terms of their farm.
Yeah, we have to keep
the
it short.
lighthouse.
You don't have to say
Okay,
everything,
am I done?
Donald.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you can
Okay,
finish,
well,
but don't say everything.
Yeah,
Just
I'm almost
let
done.
her do it.
So John just finished about the lighthouse and the Living Lab farm and their example, which we will hear about tomorrow. So the main thing there was just simple tools to apply and to make it very applicable towards farmers.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald. It was very relevant, your feedback. So thank you all. Thank you to you and to all your group. So let's go now then to see what was discussed in the pillar 3 towards global resilience through circular ecoeconomy and adaptation of food and biomass systems. So we have one group in this pillar. Sergio or Alex, do you want to talk, or one of the people from your group?
We couldn't find a volunteer, so I will be doing it. So shortly, what we discussed in this session is that first, these topics are all the topics from Pillar 3 are all very relevant, but some of them are very broad and most of them come from previous research activities, which means that some knowledge is already available for most of these topics. The question would be how to push the topics and to push the content to the farmers. There is a big question of bridging the transfer and transfer knowledge gaps in these different topics. There is also one remark to link the soil scientist and the land manager to the other economic sectors, because we talk a lot about the farming use of the land, but other land users also have a concern about the land use, and they may need to be important and relevant actors to discuss with. So some additional research ideas to complete the topics that were proposed. Some link maybe to previous research activities toward digitalization, and it was mentioned just before in the different pillars. Also maybe links to biodiversity research and activities that were conducted previously. And again, underlining the need of transfer of existing know-how and research to the farmers. And it was mentioned the need of social science to bridge this gap, and maybe a need of a background research maybe on why and how farmers integrate innovation to overcome this kind of barriers. As far as the vote on the different topics, we had a clear majority on the topic of measuring the influence of agricultural practices on yield and crop performance, which is quite a challenge. Second and third place for the development of supporting policies and incentives for sustainable agri-food systems, and for the best information, communication, and education mechanism. So these two are linked together, and they again address the problem of bridging the gap. And I think that's all. We ended the discussion on how to achieve these objectives, but we were a bit cut short on time for this one.
Okay. So I see that it was an interesting conversation. It was not even enough the time to go into how to achieve. It's also relevant to see, from what I've been hearing, that how to achieve is still something that needs a lot of discussion, as the objectives are broad and ambitious. There's a lot of space for discussion there. Thank you very much, Alex, for your summary and for the group. Let's listen now to the last group, and then after this we go to the comments. The last group is on the next generation monitoring and surveillance programs. So let's hear from Bea or Liri or someone from your group.
Yes, I will give you a short overview. I will try to share my screen as well. Can you see it?
Yeah, almost. Yes.
Is it there? Okay.
Yeah.
I won't go into details. You can just keep on your eye on the research and innovation topics, and I will just explain what we discussed and what we found. So we found that it is really crucial to link monitoring to the management, as the management can be very different. Very important big topic was that we need to have very clear thresholds, standards, indicators to have clear indication what is the baseline and where to take forward, where do we need to go. So we need a common approach. And we found out also that there is a great variability across countries on the situation of the soil monitoring. Some countries deliver knowledge retrieved from the soil monitoring to different target groups already rather good, and some need some quite extensive development. And this is also related that there is a difference in support environment. In some places it is already quite good. In some countries it needs some help. And related to supporting environment, it is essential to connect the advisors and scientists and farmers, like other groups have also mentioned that to have real knowledge transfer, we need to connect better. And also for a farmer, it is important to explain for what they are having their efforts, why they are doing this. They need to understand in a not scientific language, but easy language, and also to understand better the interpreted results, not just that they give, they get just scientific data, here you are, but really to understand why the indicators are for, what are they showing, what is the difference in their field. And regarding to data, there are different levels that are needed for land management and land planning. So these are different levels for farmer and for authorities. And finally, there is a rather big step between what farms need to perform and what are mission objectives. So then how to cover this gap. And not to as a final point, but it was kind of remark that we are dealing quite a lot with the topsoil here, but we also need to pay attention on deeper layers. So it was kind of general. So thank you for my group, and thank you for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation. Maybe you can stop sharing your screen. So let's hear a comment on this from the mission representative, Alfred Grant. Alfred, are you already ready to give us your comment?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Just to finish to write something down. Yeah, first of all, as a mission board member, I would like to thank you all for your contribution. Without that input and the input that we had from citizens and stakeholder engagement, it would not have been possible to come up with that proposal to the Commission for the mission Soil Health and Food. So thank you very much. This is really important for us. I also would like to thank EIP-AGRI for organizing the conference. And back home, I know about your anniversary. So EIP-AGRI has really achieved a lot in the last years, especially with the transition from science to practice, from innovation to practice. And it's such a role model for the new approach to research and innovation. So it's really, really fantastic. And thank you for organizing everything. So at the beginning, we had Kerstin back home and Pandit talking, and then it was interesting to hear Bridget's first work and explaining what the mission is in all. And then we had the first working group breakout session. It was also really nice to meet each other at the beginning. So I didn't think that it is possible to have an online meeting like an actual physical meeting, but it felt even a little bit like that when you meet in small groups and you can just chat to each other and talk. So that was really good. Then we had strong topics within the discussion from Bridget's talk. The main topic was tillage, cover crops, and diversity in pastures. That was the questions that were coming up, and that was interesting for me because I would like I would like you to consider that we are not only talking about arable farms or arable field soils, but we are talking about soils on farm also, but also soils in towns and on mountains, in forests. So we're talking about all the soils, even if we focus now with the workshop on agriculture. So then we had the session on with the different hats. That was quite nice. We had that red hat emotions. So some of the emotions were happy, no black and white, some concerns on consumer levels. Then we heard about fear, what will be with our soils. So that was also interesting for me to hear. Then another hat was the yellow hat, positive points. What was positive? We had the European action. Our efforts are united, and we are bringing together farmers and researchers. We bring together different stakeholders. So that was the positive thing. Another one mentioned EU initiative, multi-stakeholder approach. This is what I also always say, as you already heard several times. Then what was the black hats? That was difficulties. Farmers don't care always, so they are not aware about soil health, maybe. Something that we have to change, definitely. Then soil sealing is a huge topic in Austria also. A strong tradition, not being careful with soil. There's someone mentioned lack of knowledge was a black hat point also. Slow progress in development, and some even said putting organic farming in front. That was also, yeah, for me, difficult topic. Then the green hat, being constructive, to motivate farmers and landowners to jump on the topic, make sure that the economics are good, so the farmers can have the capacity to care for soil, and also the trips to farmers. So what do I have now additionally to make it shorter? What really impressed me was one thing that I didn't hear till now, even if we talk about the missions for more than a year now. And that was one person mentioning create a European online advisory service. This was something that really strikes me because it's a brilliant idea, especially now with the crisis. So everything has to go online. And first I thought, okay, yeah, another idea. But I think that's really a good idea. And maybe it can be integrated in EIP-AGRI. And so farmers can ask questions online, and then there could be, these questions can be answered by several consultants and can be forwarded to consultants in the region, or so specialists on that topic. So I think this is really a great idea, and maybe we can integrate it in the mission. Yeah, I don't want to talk too long for you. For me, it was really a wonderful day. In the office. Even for me as a farmer, it's always a little bit difficult to stay in the office the whole day, but it was worth, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alfred. Very, very nice overview of the whole day. So this was very inspiring also to see from perspective our whole travel of the day. So now it's the turn for Pandi. Pandi, do you like also to give your final comment? Also, if you want to comment this final session.
I think it was also very, very useful, very fruitful, a long day, but I think we managed to address very well all the topics. Now, I'm very grateful also for Alfred because he summarized extremely well all what was said. So there is no need that I repeat all this again. But I just try to convey a few messages. For example, we received important feedback from different categories of stakeholders. Primary from the farmers, and then Alfred gave a very good example. But we also received from the researchers, the advisor, NGOs, and so on. So this was very well implemented. Now, what it comes out as an important aspect to make this mission more reliable and operative, it comes out that we need to implement a holistic approach. And this comes very clearly from all the discussion that I hear, because those, even the research priorities, they are interconnected with each other. They're not separate. So implementing that type of research approach, it is the way to move forward. We need also to look at various scales, as we also mentioned here, from farm to global, if you wish, but the territorial scale become very important. Landscape approach become very important. We don't need only to look at the soil as a single entity, but it included in a whole ecological system. So that is also quite important. And then out of all of this, we have to come out with some kind of as a toolbox of alternatives, because we mentioned that there is not a strategy that fits for all. There is no single bullet that will solve all the problems. So this has to be identified at case by case, and then a technology that works in one place, maybe under similar ecological conditions, climate, soil, and so on, can be also implemented. But there is no that we develop an approach that it is ready to be used almost everywhere. So toolboxes, differences, depending on the situation that are available. And then I would say that I was also very impressed and also supportive of this idea of EU advisory services. I'm glad that also Alfred agrees as the mission board, but we can also provide this as an outcome of this workshop. And by the way, we will collect all these comments that were made, all the discussions that were made. They will all be included in the final report, which will be available to everybody. So it's no question about that. But I don't want to repeat. It was a long day. It was very well done. I think we managed to address all the issues that we put it on the table. So from my point of view, it was a success. It went rather well. And I also was impressed because wherever I happened to be participating in the breakout sessions, I noticed that there was a lot of discussion, a lot of participation. Those 45 minutes gone rather quickly. So because everybody wanted to have it saying, and that's it for the moment. No need to go any longer.
Okay, thank you very much, Pandi. It was also a very interesting comment, a very interesting day. Alfred sent me a personal message saying that he would like 30 seconds more for a final word. Alfred, feel free.
Yeah, sorry, I have to apologize. I forgot something to mention. What is really important for me. I'm super happy to hear the positive comments about the idea of implementing the lighthouse farms and living labs. So it's wonderful to hear about that, and I would really like to thank you that you all like the idea to using living labs and lighthouses as the main tool for implementing the mission soil health and food. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So it's indeed very clear that there is very strong interest in this topic. So we're going to discuss this topic tomorrow. The session starts at 9, so the check-in is at 8:30. I want to inform you that the presentations from today, they are already available in the EIP app. So feel free to go there and download them. Also, you can connect with your peers, everybody that's here through the app. For tomorrow, I would like to ask you for another exercise. This is a challenging exercise because we want to ground our discussions. So what I have here is what I ask you to do for tomorrow is to get 1 or 2 samples of soil. So you just get a little bag, and if you are a farmer, then you can get a bit of soil from the best part of your land and a bit of soil from the worst part of your land. If you are not a farmer, then just get a little bit of soil from wherever you can reach it. If you are in an urban setting, maybe you can go outside and explore how is the soil looking like, think about urban farming, and reflect a little bit how or what do we have to do to reach and change this poor soil that we have around us and transform it into good soil. So in this moment of collecting soil, it's a little exercise that then we will use tomorrow during our breakout sessions, where we will reflect on what will we do if we were a living lab or a lighthouse. So we want to ground this in very concrete actions, and nothing is more concrete and grounded than the ground and the soil. So that's it for today. I hope you like it a lot. We did. The report, somebody already asked, is going to be made available in the end. Of course, we will need some time to report, but everything will be made available. So that's it. If nobody has nothing else to say, we close the day for now.
Goodbye.
Yeah? Okay. So see you tomorrow. It was a
Thank you
big
very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you to all.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow at
Bye-bye.
8:30.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Have a nice evening.